Next, we have Ronald Kopf.
Good evening. As I said, my name is Ron Kopf. I'm running for the 2-year seat for the TUD board. When I've been describing that to some people, it's sort of like who's on first, what's on second, because there's these 11 guys that are running for the TUD board, and I'm running for the 2-year seat on the board, and of which there's 5 guys, and then there's also 6 guys that are running for 4-year seats. So to try and explain that to everybody is often confusing. But again, I'm running for the 2-year TUD seat. And I'd like to thank the Farm Bureau for putting on this function tonight and giving us a chance to talk to you. I have been fortunate to live in Sonora for 13 years. I'm a graduate of Ohio State University with a degree in land planning and landscape architecture. I have more than 30 years experience working with local stakeholders, government agencies, consultants, community leaders, and the business community to identify and resolve planning and entitlement issues with viable working solutions. As the current executive director of the Tuolumne County Business Council since March 2011, I also work with local businesses and our elected officials to facilitate positive business climate and family wage jobs to enable more of our young families to stay in Tuolumne County. This is my first time running for an elected office. I have served on numerous committees and nonprofit boards. I currently serve on the TUD Public Advisory Board, the County Planning Committee, the Sonora BIA Board, the Visitors Bureau Board, and as a City of Sonora representative on the Airport Land Use Commission. My wife Elizabeth and I have 2 twin daughters, Jordan and Lexi, and they're graduates from Sonora High School, and they recently graduated from UC Irvine and then went on to get their master's, and I would hope they someday would be able to move back here and live in this wonderful area that we all live in. Many of their kids that they've graduated with have moved away, and I'd like to have them the opportunity to move back here as well. I'm running for the TUD board because this drought has brought on many negative impacts for our community. It's impacted ag and our tourism business, our businesses and landscapes, our overall quality of life we want to enjoy in this foothill community. Conservation is very important to our community, and our community responded very well with a 50% reduction in water usage. Unfortunately, too bad some of our neighbors in San Francisco and Southern California couldn't figure out that program as well. One of the things we've looked at with the conservation is that conservation is very important, and we need to continue looking at it. But conservation can't be our first step. We need to have some stopgap measure. We've got to look at additional supply and storage. And developing an adequate and sustainable water supply is critical to Tuolumne County residents and businesses. A large part of our economy is based on tourism and agriculture. These were 2 of the most heavily impacted areas in this year's drought and the first to be cut. Extreme conservation, again, needs to be one of the last resorts, but conservation measures should be incorporated throughout. As we all know, our climate is getting warmer, and we're in a prolonged drought cycle. With a decreased snowpack, TUD needs a long-term plan to diversify our supply, storage, and distribution options. There are no easy or inexpensive solutions to this. There's no magic bullet. If you go to a lot of these meetings, you'll realize how complicated our water delivery system is, the many different water systems that we have, the operation of TUD, and it's not simple. Our long-term water and sewer infrastructure also needs to be addressed with the county revised general plan. One of the things we need to look at in the general plan is we need to incorporate the infrastructure system that we have so that when projects are going forward or when TUD wants to upgrade their facility, it's already tied in with the long-term planning of Tuolumne County. We have a number of areas that are higher density, medium density, and low density, and one of the things that's been lamented is a lot of these new projects come on board and they tie in and they're on well and septic. Well, we need to be able to tie more projects into water and sewer. Funding is always an issue, and TUD needs to continue to take an active role with our county and other water agencies to secure grant funding that's available under the current drought funding options. We need to participate and stay involved in the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, which is the way a lot of our infrastructure is going to be funded in the future. This is how a lot of the government funding comes in, and it's tied in with a lot of collaborative groups that tie together to make that work. We also have to make sure that we get a portion of the $7.4 billion state water bond if that's passed in November. The other issue is Tom Shaza will be retiring this year. He's been on board for a little over a year, and we're going to need to hire a new general manager. And as Tom's pointed out,
All right, thank you, Ron.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will open up the questions for Ron.
So what was it he had said? I'm sorry, the general manager that's being replaced.
I'm sorry, what?
Finish your statement.
Oh, my statement was going to be that Tom's going to retire, and hiring a new adequate general manager that has a good business sense and also understands the operation of TUD is going to be critical. So that's going to be a very important part of the next board to get the right general manager put in place.
Ron, having represented and be involved with the development sector in past years, and TUD board having to approve to serve or not to serve new development, don't you see this as conflict of interest?
No, I don't. And the reason is because from a planning standpoint, when you're working on different projects, whether that be the hospital, and I'm working with the hospital right now on their new cancer center where they're tying in, we need adequate water that can supply for that. It's not a matter of figuring out how do we divide up this small pie that we have right now. It's a matter of going after additional supply and sources, additional storage, so that we can make that all work. One of the key things, a lot of the projects have been mentioned with Dredging Phoenix, the Sierra Pines project, the Matlock Reservoir. But one of the key things that everybody needs to understand is when Pinecrest, which is one of our major supply areas right now, when that finishes spilling, that fixes our water amount that we have for the summer months. And then that goes until Labor Day when we can start drawing down that lake again. That is a 4 to 6 month period depending on when that spill comes in. So when you're looking at increasing your storage capacity by 350 acre feet that you have in the Sierra Pines, that has the ability to cover a lot of water for that 4 to 6 month period. So when we look at additional supply and we look at projects that are coming on board, they should be designed so they're as efficient as possible, and they make a lot more sense than just putting these big lots all over the place that everybody's trying to irrigate large area.
I have two questions, if that's all right. It's my understanding that you are not a TUD customer. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm not
Okay.
currently a TUD customer. I was a
Okay.
TUD customer for 7 years, and I also have property that will be a TUD customer. But I think you need to, there's been a number of very good board members that have been on TUD that weren't TUD customers that look at it from a county-wide basis. And when we look at some of this infrastructure and the growth and what we're looking at doing, it's not just a TUD issue. It's a county-wide issue. This water supply is not just, it should not be on the back of the TUD ratepayers. It's a county responsibility to solve.
And my second question is a concern I have going along with this gentleman. I attend a lot of legislative bodies in this county, and I've seen you at a lot of meetings, and you're representing someone, a builder, a developer, whatever. So I have a lot of concerns that you wouldn't be able to vote because of a conflict of interest. And if you did vote, I would be watching you very carefully.
Well, I would hope you would.
So I'm very concerned about that, because why should we elect somebody who's going to be recusing himself all the time?
Well, I think it depends on what you're voting for. TUD does not vote a lot on water. They'll supply a will serve letter, but a lot of those don't go in front of the board. What they're really working on is the policy to go get and make sure that we have an adequate water supply and a distribution, the supply, treatment, and storage facilities that are in. And that is what I think the board's responsibility is. It's not a matter of saying, how do we cut this out or how do we not allow that? It's let's make sure we put the program in place that it works.
Ron, your business is what? Title is your business, and what do you do for your business?
I'm the executive director of the Tuolumne County Business Council, and with that, what we do is we work with a lot of the member businesses and the county rules and regulations.
You are an owner of RDK Development,
I'm also an owner of RDK Development.
and what is that business?
That business works with different development groups and different people on planning entitlement of their projects For instance, as I mentioned before, one of my clients is the current hospital that's building their cancer center. So one of the issues we work with TUD on is how do we make sure that that gets adequate water? When they were building the existing hospital, they upgraded the Greenlee water tank facility. This current facility that's going on board on the Andes site has a 6-inch line coming in, and it has to tie in with an 8-inch line that's coming down Mono Way. So those will both loop through that system to make sure that that will work.
Thank you very much, Ron. That's the end of time for questions.